This is God as the master. In the land of Canaan there was a storm god called Hadad, whom is previously known as Adad. He was called Master of the Storms, Master of the World, or Master of the Earth. Despite the fact that he was not originally the supreme god, he yet carried that title. His worship was very prominent, especially in the 2nd millennium BCE. In the late 2nd millennium BCE, specifically in the 14th century BCE, Pharaoh Akhenaten declared that his god Aten is the one god of all of Egypt. This is very similar to how the Jewish God is viewed, and this idea will later be called monotheism. Also, the Jewish God is often referred to as Adonai. This is very similar to how Adad and the Aten are pronounced. Also, the Aten's depiction, a sun disk, is very similar to how God, represented by the circle with a dot in the middle, is also depicted. Now, the title of Master was passed down all the way to the Jewish God. In Hosea chapter 2, verse 18, also in Hosea chapter 2, verse 16, depending on the versions of the Tanakh. What I'm saying is, in some Tanachs, the verse that states that God shall no longer be called Baali, my master, but now shall be called Ishi, my husband, in some versions of the Tanakh is in Hosea chapter 2, verse 18. And in many other versions is in Hosea chapter 2, verse 16. It's just numbered differently. Now, what is going on here is that these writers are hoping to take advantage of the idea that Baal and God were confused for the same God, while at the same time trying to show that Baali was also part of that confusion and has nothing to do with Adonai or God. However, Baali and Baal, although similar, are not the same God despite similar pronunciation. Baali, my master, is simply a generic term. However, considering that Adonai, Adad, and Aten are also similar, it seems to be that there's more than one similarity to the previous God called Master, that being Adad, also called Hadad, whom is similar to the Aten in pronunciation. This confusion between Baal and God was also apparently ended when Elijah put Baal to the test by seeing which God would bring down fire to Mount Sinai. Baal did not bring down fire, but God did. The prophets of Baal were astonished and were slayed by Elijah. However, Baal is understood as a slayer of a dragon, similar to how God is understood in Isaiah chapter 27, verse 1. There's a slayer of the dragon as well, also apparently known as Leviathan. However, the idea that a god slays a serpent or dragon is very prominent, and not necessarily an indicator of any connection between Baal and God. The only times that there is any mentioning of the two together is when there is conflict between the two, such as it is with the conflict between Elijah and the prophets of Baal, whom Elijah being a prophet of God. So, in any case, by making it appear that Baali is just another form of Baal and not necessarily a title of God, one will not think to correlate the master title from Adad all the way down to the Jewish God. However, To make matters worse, Hadad was also confused for Baal in the land of Canaan, way before there was ever a religion called Judaism. Now, there's also something else to think about, such as Ishi, the thing that means my husband. Before Hadad became Hadad of the land of Canaan, he was previously known as Ishkur. As a matter of fact, Hadad was a title of Ishkur, a Sumerian storm god, whom, like his later counterparts, was also referred to as master, and yet he was not the original supreme god, just like his later counterparts. That being said, the title of master was passed down from him, from that character, that God character, all the way to the Jewish God character. And that is because, as it would appear, there's a connection between these different names, as if they would appear to be the same God.